Someone in your life is treating you like an option. And the worst part? You already know who it is. You've replayed the conversations. You've given them the benefit of the doubt. You've probably even blamed yourself a little, wondering if maybe you're the problem. You're not. But here's what nobody's going to tell you, and this is the part that's going to sting a little. You might be making it easier for them. Not because you're weak, not because you're naive, but because there are specific things you're doing right now, today, that are quietly signaling to disrespectful people that you're safe to walk over. I'm going to show you exactly what those things are, and more importantly, how to stop. Stay with me, because point 3 is where most people have their moment. That's the one that changes things. And before we get into number 1, I want you to hold on to something, because by the end of this video, you're going to realize that respect was never something you needed to ask for. You just needed to stop giving it away. 1. You're explaining yourself to people who never asked for your permission. Let me paint you a picture. Someone questions your decision, a choice you made, something personal, and instead of just owning it, you start explaining. You give context, you give reasons. You're practically building a courtroom argument for a decision that was already made. Sound familiar? Here's what's actually happening in that moment, and this is the part most people miss entirely. Every time you over-explain yourself to someone who had no right to question you in the first place, you are handing them authority over you. You're saying, without words, my decision doesn't count until you agree with it. And people, consciously or not, take that offer. Think about the most quietly confident person you know, the one people just seem to respect without question. Do they spend 10 minutes justifying their choices to people who disapprove? No, they don't, because they've figured out something that takes most people years to learn. An explanation is only owed to people who have earned it. Your boss asking why a deadline was missed? Reasonable. Your mother-in-law questioning why you raised your kids a certain way? That's not a question, that's a power move. And when you defend yourself, you just handed her the win. Here's what you do instead. Next time someone questions a decision you've already made, decisions that are yours to make, you say this: I've thought it through. This is what I decided. That's the whole sentence. You don't add to it, you don't soften it, you just let it sit there. It will feel uncomfortable. They might push back, and that silence you feel after, that's not awkwardness, that's the dynamic shifting in real time. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because point 2 is actually what makes point 1 work. Without this next piece, stopping the explanations alone won't be enough. 2. Silence is a weapon. You're just not using it. Let me ask you something. When someone disrespects you, when they say something dismissive, cutting, or just flat out rude, what do? Most people react immediately. They defend, they argue, they shut down, or they over-explain again. And all of those reactions have one thing in common. They confirm that the disrespect landed. They tell the other person, you got to me. You have power here. Here's what actually stops a disrespectful person in their tracks. Not argument, not confrontation, it's silence. Intentional, deliberate, unbothered silence. There's a reason why the most powerful people in any room rarely raise their voice, because they've figured out that silence doesn't just communicate calm, it communicates control. And control is what disrespectful people are always chasing from you. Think about it. Disrespect is almost always designed to provoke a reaction. It feeds on your frustration. It needs your emotion to survive. When you take that away, when you pause, look them in the eye, and give them absolutely nothing, you don't just neutralize the moment, you flip the power entirely. Try this. Next time someone says something to get under your skin, don't answer immediately. Take 3 full seconds, breathe, and then either respond calmly or say nothing at all. Those 3 seconds will feel like an eternity to you, but to them, it'll feel like the ground shifted. Silence isn't weakness, it's the loudest thing you can say. Okay, we're halfway through, and I need you to stay with me here, because what's coming up next is the one most people skip, and it's the exact reason why nothing else they try ever works long term. 3. The moment you teased in the hook. If you're not willing to walk away, nothing else matters. I said this was the one that changes things. Here's why. Everything we've talked about, stopping the over-explaining, using silence, all of it depends on one thing being true. You have to actually be willing to lose the relationship. Not as a bluff, not as a tactic, for real. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. If the other person senses even slightly that you need them more than you need your own peace, they will never fully respect you. They don't have to. You've already shown them the cost is zero. This is why people spend years in the same exhausting cycle. They draw lines, the lines get crossed, they move the lines, and then they wonder why nothing changes. The reason nothing changes is because their limit isn't real, it's a performance, and people always find out. Now, I'm not saying cut everyone off at the first disagreement. That's not the point. Relationships have friction. That's normal. What I'm talking about is a pattern, repeated, consistent disrespect that you keep absorbing because the alternative, losing the relationship, feels worse. But ask yourself this. What kind of relationship is it really if you have to shrink yourself to keep it? The moment you genuinely decide, not threaten, not announce, but actually decide that your self-respect is non-negotiable, something shifts. You carry yourself differently. You speak differently. You stop begging for things you should never have had to ask for in the first place. And people feel that shift every time.
Here's something I want you to think about while we go into point 4, because most people are chasing the wrong thing entirely when it comes to respect. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. 4. Stop trying to change how they see you. Start controlling what you accept. Be honest with yourself for a second. How much energy have you spent trying to prove your worth to someone who is already determined not to see it? Saying the right thing, showing up harder, bending over backward, hoping that this time it would be enough. Here's the painful truth. You cannot argue someone into respecting you. You can't. Respect doesn't work that way. It's not a debate you win with better points or more patience. Chasing someone's approval by being more impressive, more agreeable, or more available, it doesn't earn you respect. It earns you resentment, theirs and your own. What you can control is this: what treatment you accept. Not what they think, not what they feel, what you allow. Because here's how disrespect actually dies. Not when someone decides to stop being disrespectful, but when they realize it no longer works. When dismissing you doesn't start an argument, you just leave the room. When belittling you doesn't get a reaction, you go quiet. When disrespecting you has a consistent cost, they recalibrate. Not because they had a change of heart, but because you changed the terms. Stop asking, how do I make them respect me? Start asking, what am I willing to accept going forward? Those are completely different questions, and only one of them is actually in your hands. We're almost at the last one, and I'll warn you now, this is the one people push back on the most, but it might also be the most important thing in this entire video. 5. The real question is, do you actually respect yourself? I told you this one gets pushback. Here it is. The people who have the fewest chronic problems with disrespect from others are not the loudest people in the room. They're not the most confrontational. They're not running around demanding respect. They just genuinely, quietly respect themselves, and it shows in everything. In what they laugh off and what they don't. In how long they stay in conversations that diminish them. In whether they make excuses for people who repeatedly treat them poorly. Here's the hard part. If disrespect keeps finding you across different relationships, different jobs, different situations, it's worth asking honestly, what's the common thread? Not to blame yourself, but to find your power. Because self-respect isn't a feeling you wait to arrive. It's a set of decisions you make every day about what you will and won't accept. And when you make those decisions consistently, when your actions match your words, people sense it. You stop attracting the people who are counting on you not to have limits. You stop being available for treatment you never deserved. That's not confidence, that's not bravado. That's just knowing your own value clearly enough that disrespect has nowhere comfortable to land. So, stop handing out explanations like they're free. Use silence. It's more powerful than anything you could say. Be genuinely willing to walk away, not as a threat, as a standard. Control what you accept, not what they think. And take an honest look at your own self-respect, because that's where all of this starts and ends. Here's the one thing I want you to leave with. You were never going to earn respect by chasing it. You earn it by making it clear through your behavior that you already have it. If this hit differently than you expected, share it. Send it to someone who needs it right now. And if you want more content that's actually going to shift how you move through the world, subscribe, because this is what we do here. See you in the next one.